Okay, very good. So, good morning, good afternoon for all of those of you that have joined. It is a great pleasure for us to have this last webinar of the year. I think we have done like about 10 webinars over this year where you can join and learn more about the open source solutions that we support and that we lead. Today, we're going to talk about MapStore and the second release of this year. So it is great that we have Lorenzo, Natali, and Tobia, Pisa, which are core developers of MapStore. I'm going to give a brief introduction of what GeoSolutions is, and then I will give the floor to Lorenzo and Tobia. So GeoSolutions was founded in 2006. 2 years ago, we opened the offices in the US to support the Americas, and we support these four main products: GeoServer, MapStore, GeoNode, and GeoNetwork. And in the support of these products, we have several offers. And one is enterprise support services, where you get a certain number of hours for us to help you install, to help you tweak, to help you create plugins on the different products that you want to be installed in your system. We also have a deployment subscription that if you want to have a guarantee, if something fails, then you can buy a certain number of incidents. So it's based on incidents, it's not based on hours, but you have the guarantee for the whole year. We also provide customized solutions. So we make custom, for example, applications. Most of them, I think all of them, make a MapStore, but I also provide special plugins and such. And we do, of course, professional training. We have about 200 clients around the world. This is not only governments, but we have a lot of private organizations as well, and also organizations like the UN, World Bank, and such that also are interested in using our products, for example, to build special data infrastructures around the world. We support different domains, and because of that, the expertise that we have can help, I think, almost any industry, any customer, because we bring the expertise of, we know how to deal with space data, with metocean data. We have clients in defense. We know how to put the data, for example, to put it fast and operational fixture for emergency response cases. We know how to handle open data, and for example, how to follow rules from the government, like creating Inspire download services or special data infrastructures that follow OGC standards and such, utilities, research, smart cities. We strongly support open source. This is our core. We strongly believe in it, that if we develop something, then it can be used around the world for the best of, let's say, humanity, or those that don't have really the resources to buy a product. So it's also a big gratitude to all the companies that have supported us, because they also support a lot of other people, organizations, cities, etc., that are using GeoServer, MapStore, and GeoNode and GeoNetwork that we support. We actively participate in OGC because we believe that it is important to not only follow the rules, but also to help tweak those rules if they don't seem to be working. And since we are one of the main implementers of OGC standards, for us it's good to provide feedback. And we also are members of USGIF, which support standard critical to GeoInt. We are about, I think, 30 people right now, and we have the lead developers of the open source software that I mentioned before. We have a lot of experience with a lot of different types of data, different database management systems, creating WebGIS applications, and of course, extensive experience, performance, scalability in the cloud. That's almost like our bread and butter right now, because as I said, a lot of people just can download the server and install it, but if they really want to scale it, they really want to have a cluster, they need to have the experience of how to do it. That's what we do. So these are some names, but you will see here that we have most of the technical lead people of a lot of the different tools. I was before also OGC staff, so I bring the experience of standards, let's say. And Simone, who's the founder and has a great knowledge for bringing all this together. And I think that's it. Before I give the floor to Lorenzo, Please put all the questions using Q&A. I don't know if people have used the chat. Let me see. I'm recording. No, start the recording. Okay, thank you. So if you have any questions at any point, please use the Q&A. Then they will be answered in the order that they appear. And we want to leave at least between 30 minutes to 20 minutes for discussion. And this is the greatest part because you're able to interact with Lorenzo and Tobia. So, and get all pampered with their knowledge, let's say. Okay, so I guess Lorenzo, I'm going to also give you host privileges, and I think you can share.
You should stop sharing first, I think. Okay.
Okay, I just stopped sharing.
I'm allowed now. Okay, thank you.
Yes. Okay, Lorenzo.
Great. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see.
Yeah.
Great. Great. First of all, hi all. Thank you for having me. And the main purpose of this of this webinar is to talk about the news of MapStore. So let's first introduce MapStore for those who are new with the MapStore world. MapStore basically is an open source web GIS application and framework. It allows to create and share charts, dashboards, stories, and of course maps. It has a modern application characteristics, so it uses React, it supports mobile, and it's responsive to various displays of various layouts. You can customize the look and feel and the tools, and consumes data for many sources, especially OGC standard sources, and has a BCD license that is commercial friendly. As I said, it is an application, so you can download it, install it on your server, or create a and customize it a little bit. In this case, we talk about MapStore product or MapStore main product itself. But MapStore is also a framework that allows a fine level of customization to create your own application using core plugins and developing your ones, creating custom pages, custom application, custom backend, and so on. In this case, you will create a derived project from MapStore, and in this case, you will use MapStore, we say, as a framework. This is only who uses MapStore. This is only a part of the list of MapStore users we helped, and all MapStore adopters that we supported, and they use MapStore in various manner. Some of them use MapStore directly as a product, so they downloaded it and installed it on their server. Some other use it as a framework, so they have various levels of customizations, or some other use it indirectly because because MapStore is integrated also in other famous WebGIS platforms like GeoNode or GeoOrchestra. So sometimes MapStore is used also in these contexts. Many of these users contributed actively to MapStore, helping us to make MapStore what it is now. Let me show a few examples of their portal. For instance, there is MapStand. There is that is a platform for tracking energy activities with a lot of graphical customization. You can see a lot of them. And then there is also an integration with different backend for the MapStore one. Then there is an implementation for City of Brussels that uses MapStore as it is, with a lot of customization in terms of graphics and in terms of custom plugins. They have some customizations for their own purposes. but the base it's very similar to the MapStore product, except some different icons or colors or organization of the tree and so on. Austro Control, that is an air navigation services provider that uses MapStore as in the very basic main product functionalities, and they have some customization for custom feature info on clicking on map or other minor customizations on page and so on. There is also another example can be the Arno, that is a river, Arno River Basin Authority that also uses MapStore directly installed as it is from the installer. And then the city of Genova that is that uses a MapStore project that is highly based on the startup product, and with some additional pages developed for their own needs, and special integration with the Italian authentication authorization system for public services. Now, what about MapStore main feature? What MapStore does? Well, MapStore as a product itself, when you download and install, provides mainly a content management system specialized in geospatial contents. So users can create and share or browse various kinds of content, and they can share between the other user groups and assign to these contents permissions. Optionally, the creation of contents can be reserved also to administrators or only to administrators. So you can imagine a portal where users share all their contents, or public portal when only the administrator create the contents and the users are only consumers of the contents. The various content types that you can create in MapStore actually are maps, contexts, dashboards, and GeoStories. Each type of these contents has a lot of tools that allow to explore and interact with them. For instance, the map viewer, that is one of the main, of course, the main content we can share with MapStore. The map viewer have a lot of tools that provides possibility to interact with the map actively with tons of features. For instance, the timeline and elevation tools to explore multidimensional data, widgets for charts and tables to browse data and do statistical analysis on them, annotations to draw on map your own notes and save them. Then there are many tools like compare tool to compare between the background and hide a layer in a particular section, or the measure tool to do measures, also geodesics. And for instance, the styler that interacts with the GeoServer to create and edit cool styles for your data, publish it on GeoServer, doing a classification and symbologies with a couple of clicks. It's all interactive, and it provides a user interface for that. Or you can, and there are tons of these tools in a map viewer. Let's see, for instance, the timeline. If I click here, here there is an example of the timeline that you can use. Here we have some Meteorid landings data. We can go forward and backward in time to explore this data. You can select a range of time to select the data to display, and we can also do animations. So we can, for instance, do an animation that every second updates the map. A second example can be using the widgets. So for instance, in this map, we have this states layer, and here we have some widgets floating on the map that show statistics about the employed peoples and population grouped by region. And as you zoom in or out, the widget are updated to fit the data of the current viewport. So you can filter the data to, for instance, display only information of this viewport, and data and tables will be automatically synchronized with it. Moreover, this year, MapStore provides also cool functionality to create as much maps as you want, as much map viewers you want, with a selected set of plugins configured on your purposes. The administrator can create and share these map viewers that can be used to create other maps, or can be shared to as a full application for specific purposes. This adds the possibility to develop and install your own extensions also on running MapStore instance, and making MapStore product a platform to host your own tools for various use case. Let me clarify a little bit. You can, with this tool, you can create a map viewer with a subset of the MapStore plugins, and you can even install your own. So you can, for instance, create a map viewer dedicated for citizen that has only the main viewer and some tools that can be useful only for citizens. Then you can create another context with advanced tools for GIS specialists, or another context with some specific tools developed for your own purposes, dedicated, for instance, for data insert for particular users. And for instance, here let's see a minimal. We can use a minimal viewer. This is a context that has only the annotation tool, so you can create a minimal tool that allow only you to create and save, for instance, annotations, and nothing more. With a predefined background. Then you can, in this context, we have also an optional extension that can be enabled by clicking here. And for instance, here we can enable the background selector. This is given to the user, this choice, that there is also this opportunity. So as well as you turn on or off this, you can see the background switcher here in the corner appear and disappear. So there is a lot of flexibility in terms of which tools and which plugin provide to the user, and even if allow or not the users to open to create these to enable these tools. Another context, for instance, can be a more complex application that contains a map viewer, very similar to the MapStore one, but excluding something, for instance, the login and the search bar here. But we have several tools for annotations, for print, export, import, and so on. And here in the table of contents, we have several tools, but for instance, we excluded the widgets. So we can create various map contexts with a selection of your own plugins. And continuing with the content types we have, another kind of content available is the dashboard. A dashboard is a container for widgets. We already have seen in the maps with the dashboard view, with the dashboard organization, so you can resize these cells in order to organize the viewport of each content, and they can have multiple tools that can interact together with multiple maps and multiple charts, graphics, and tables. Let's see, for instance, this one, that is a view similar to the map, but it is in this case the map we have seen before with the widgets. But in this case, we have a map here. Of course, we can drag and drop and resize these tools to organize the viewport as we want. For instance, you can move here these and position and choose the position of the widget to whatever you want, and the map whatever you want. And you can create also multiple maps or multiple tools. Here in this second example, instead, we have two maps synchronized each other's. Here you can see the provinces, for instance, and here you can see a map of UNESCO items for Italy. And here we have the table. The table is filtered. It's filtered by this text filter. I can remove or add this filter, and the map will automatically zoom and select the data that fits the filter, and they are synchronized automatically all together. Finally, the last content we have for MapStore is GeoStory. GeoStory provides the possibility to create, using a visual editor, to create scrollable multimedia content with images, videos, and so on. For instance, maps, galleries, a lot of things. You can. It's easier for me to display you an example of it instead of explaining. For instance, this is a GeoStory for the list of to tell a story about the higher astronomical observatories around the world. You can scroll down and see contents. You can read text, and here you have some interactive maps that can be provided, for instance, as backgrounds. And you can scroll down and see, for instance, various maps and various images and contents while the background changes. And you can also use videos instead inside the view. You can edit it by clicking here. In this case, if you are an administrator, and for instance, you can choose. You have a high level of customization. For instance, here you can change the style, the size of the contents. You can choose the background size and alignment, or you can, for instance, choose the multimedia to use. For instance, I can switch and use, instead of a map, a video here, that I can continue using this video also here in order to provide. So with a few clicks, I'm able to change the background from a map to a video, and it's very cool. And let's see the preview of this. So as I scroll down here, the video starts, and as well as I scroll down, the video continues to play in background, and you can turn on or on the audio of the video if you want, and you can create various beautiful scrollable pages with this tool with a couple of clicks. MapStore, other than sharing contents, provides also the possibility to manage users and groups it has its own database for users and group, or it can integrate with LDAP source. Moreover, it gives also the possibility to integrate with your server and just GeoFence provides advanced integrated security system with geospatial for your geospatial data. Last but not least, MapStore provides a project system, as I said, to start from this main product to create your own application, customize the look and feel. You can replace whatever you want. You can also use some interesting tools and forget about the one you are not interested to. You can replace the backend completely or partially, whatever you prefer. And for instance, all the integrations that we have with GeoNode or GeoOrchestra are custom projects. And also the customization, like the portal I've shown you, are custom projects that allows a lot of customizations in terms of development and in terms of look and feel. More information about MapStore, you can find the demo team online at this address, user documentation, GitHub repository, the developer documentation, also to start developing on it. There are several YouTube videos on our channel, and a mailing list you can write to ask questions or support, and from the community, and there is also a MapStore online training to understand the things. Now, what is new in this release of MapStore? This release has been done the past October. It's the first release, it's the first stable release of the 2021.02.xx series. And we will have more minor releases on this stable branch, mostly for bug fixes or minor features. But the main things we developed in this release are the possibility to customize the theme of a context. So let's see together an example of this. In this case, we can see a context that has a customized theme, and we can see together the editor of the context. We can see how you can edit. The user interface of context editor provides an initial window with where you define the name of the window title, then the position and the initial layer of the map, and then the sets of plugin. This was the original user interface of the context. Here you can customize the plugin to add or remove whatever you want. And then here we added a new page to the wizard that allows you to customize the theme. So you can choose the theme from the list, or you can customize the colors the way you want. Here you have also suggestions, a warning that suggests you that the text may be not readable. For instance, if you have a color that is used often as background of the text, this helps you to avoid to create colors that are not readable. So it helps to find out a color that can be that can adapt easily to your user interface. And that's it. For instance, let me change this color to, for instance, the main background color is the primary color. Instead of being yellow, let's do it green. And in this case, our custom theme now will be something like this, with a green instead of the yellow of before. together with this operation, we with this development, we did a complete review of the theme system, supporting CSS variables that now can be used as an option to quickly customize MapStore without having to rebuild the whole theme. So this is very helpful for custom projects, so you can customize with a very few lines all the theme appearance. So for instance, this is an application created using MapStore, and here we have the possibility to switch between themes light to dark with a few clicks, and this simply changes the CSS variables. Sorry. For what regards the GeoStories, we added the GeoCarousel section. That is a new section that allows you to have a sort of gallery for the map content in background. And let's see, for instance, this example here. That this story tells shows a list of the tallest statues around the world. For instance, here we have the map here, and you can click here and there to move the map to the positions to the place where the content is located, and show the related image and text for this section. Of course, you can even browse the content by clicking on left or right, or clicking directly on the map. For instance, you are interested to the one that are located in Japan, you can click on them and see the information about them. You can, of course, edit these things, and you can add your own contents to this list by clicking on add here and writing, for instance, my starter. I can do it. Statement. And you can add it by the position for it, and for instance, I can place it here and add content for instance, my own that is located here, and so as well as I look at the preview, I have this new. This new content here. You can add or remove contents to this gallery with the graphical user interface as usual. Another improvement we did in MapStore regards the styler. In this release, we provided also the support to the raster. For raster data for the styler. Here I open a map where we have raster style. I can open the layer settings for this layer and open the style tab. If I am an administrator, I'm able to edit the select style. This style is edited directly on GeoServer. In this case, I'm able to create classifications, for instance, and in this example, I can change, for instance, the color ramp, display, for instance, instead a scale of reds. I can reverse the order. I can change the classification method in order to have different intervals, or I can show only classes instead of showing a ramp In this case, we have only areas of these precise colors for these intervals. In this case, instead, we have a gradual change between these colors. We can change the number of intervals, of course. And we can customize even the labels for the legend here, and we can customize also the values of the interval. This is the main thing we can do for raster data. We can change the opacity and other options like you expect to do with raster classification. And you can switch to code editor in order to edit direct the SLD instead of using the visual editor. So if you want to have a fine-grained if you want to edit the style manually, you are allowed also to switch to the text editor instead of the visual editor we have. We added a lot of minor enhancements to MapStore data, and in this release, for instance, we added the unique interval classification method for both raster and vector stylers. You should have seen it. Here there is the unique interval. It depends, of course, on the data, but and we let me get again the presentation. Okay, and we added the classification. Yes, we improved the geolocate tool to work better with various map types, and we enhanced the catalog with advanced options, and we added autocomplete for cross-layer filtering, and we added several small things for this release that we don't have time to explain anyway. But you can find the whole information at the MapStore Release page. Let me go here in MapStore repository. There is a link in the slides. We have the release here. There is a detailed changelog and the detailed description of this release with enhancement and improvements, with a list of all the issues involved in the release and fixed on this release. Some of the things that we did on the back end, on the development side, is to increase a lot the bundle size optimization. So we did a lot of optimization to reduce the size of the final size of MapStore. It has been reduced at 23%, 15% is gzipped, and the initial page load is 1 second faster. And now, and we improved also the memory requirements. So now MapStore doesn't require gigabytes of memory to build anymore. So it's easier. Also on a smaller machine, it's you can build MapStore also with a small machine with less memory. We are going to do in the future releases. In the future release in the 2022, we plan to do several things. One of these is the brand new project system that is now in experimental mode, and this allows you to launch a command with npx in order to create a MapStore project that reduces the boilerplate to minimal. So you can, it's easier to maintain, it's easier to upgrade. You don't have Git submodules MapStore anymore, but it is, and the dependency for MapStore is handled by npm. And there is a convention of a configuration strategy, so you can add files to some folders and some specific positions in order to customize subparts. Otherwise, you simply don't. If you want to use the defaults, you can simply don't use the leave that place empty. And it helps also the migration to future versions. And we plan to we developed this to be the same tool to create custom projects or extensions. So you can create an extension, or you can create a custom project with the same tool. Moreover, we want to support 3D tiles. So in the Cesium visualization of MapStore, we are planning to include the visualization of 3D data by the 3D tiles products, and so show 3D objects on the map. We want to improve more the performance in order to speed up the first page load by including libraries only on demand, only the required libraries on demand. And we did an analysis on that, and we are going to remove the bottlenecks as much as possible in the next release. You can check out the updates and the news on user you can check out the updated documentation that is available for every version of MapStore at the documentation page. Here in the documentation page, you can switch between versions and see the latest one. The latest is relative to master, so the current development one, while the version, this is the stable version, and you can see the documentation related to our version, the current version, that is 2021.02.00. And
yeah, Lorenzo, sorry,
yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Guys, just one more addition to what's said by Lorenzo. So every time we release a new version of MapStore, especially a new measured version of MapStore, we publish also a blog post describing all new updates that we provided that we provide with that version. Okay, so feel free to join, to subscribe basically on our newsletter, so that you can find in the GeoSolutions website, in order to receive notification and news about our services and products that we publish online. Okay, especially within our blog posts and so on. Okay, so you can, for example, look at this link here and subscribe the newsletter there. Okay, obviously along with subscribing also the user and developer mailing list to ask questions to our developers and to start discussions on specific MapStore functionalities and so on that you need. That's all.
Okay, so basically we've finished.
I think we have finished, Luis. So probably we can start with the question and answer session, probably.
Yes, sorry, I was on mute. So we have 12 questions. I think, Lorenzo, do you have access to them, or do you want me to read them?
Okay. let me share the screen again. Okay, let's start with the first one. We are new startup using open source tools such as Server and MapStore and crowdsource. No commercial aspect, yes. Can one at this stage collaborate with you? You can write to the info.geosolution.it in order to ask.
Yeah, I probably can quickly answer to this question. Basically, we are obviously glad to participate and to collaborate with other companies in general. And basically, yeah, in order to, let's say, grow up with more interesting experience related to new collaboration, I mean. But anyway, you can, I think that you can use contacts in the GeoSolutions website in order to ask more questions about this and start the discussion. Okay.
Okay. Can MapStore support vector point data capture app mobile either as a web portal or app? Let me quickly try to guess what you mean. Let me take, for instance, the MapStore running, MapStore demo. At this stage, you can develop, for instance, you can develop a plugin, for instance, that allows you to capture points or whatever you want and store them in GeoServer, for instance, and MapStore can provide both the interface to capture data, but you have to develop a custom plugin and to show this data to the final user.
Yeah, MapStore basically is a quite flexible framework, okay, that allow you to easily customize specific functionalities like this one, okay. So the MapStore API in general could be enhanced on purpose, I mean, in order to inject vector points, vector geometries, and so on. Okay, from a third-party application and so on. Okay, so it can be easily integrated in other web portal for this purpose too.
Okay, next question. Does GeoServer have a geo event server functionality? I don't know exactly what is.
I think it is quite generic as a question there. Anyway, it will be probably good to ask to the GeoServer community for this.
Yes.
I don't know what this precisely means.
Yes, you can ask to the GeoServer mailing list or whatever that they usually can provide you more information. And if it is somehow related with MapStore, you can also ask to MapStore mailing list.
If you can provide more details about this, it will be better. So
yes,
we can provide feedback on that.
Next question. Does the styler need to be connected to GeoServer using user password from GeoServer? Basically, the connection between MapStore and GeoServer is done by sharing of users that is indicated here in documentation in the GeoServer user integration. Here, there's
basically the most common use cases are based on the out key integration with GeoServer.
Yes, you can. If you are a developer or an expert, you can, of course, create your own integration system. But this is the one provided by default for MapStore. Anyway, the main operation you have to do is to interact and be authenticated. You can configure GeoServer accordingly to allow certain users or all users, depending if you're
by default the MapStore style editor is based on work on top. I mean the GeoServer REST API. Okay, yes. So by default, the REST API are opened and can be used basically for CRUD operation. I mean, for administrator. Can be used by administrators, users. Anyway, you are able in GeoServer to tune this configuration and allow more people to use GeoServer API for editing purposes, I mean. That kind of things can be managed through MapStore and GeoServer using the through the user integration that as I said before, in the most common cases is provided through the out key mechanism. Okay, so once you have a user integrated between MapStore and GeoServer, so that GeoServer can look at the MapStore database to check user, for example, you basically can log in MapStore. Okay, and so that out key token is sent basically in the HTTP request automatically by MapStore that is generating this. And so GeoServer can recognize the user and can authenticate the user basically and apply the authorization rules allowed for that user. Okay, in that case, the editing of a style, for example.
Yes, so very clear, thank you. Next question. In what kind of format those data need to be for the time slider? Okay, good question. The time slider is documented here. Let me, in the user guide, you can see that MapStore requires the dimensional data in a have to be published in GeoServer as multi-dimensional with a multi-dimensional extension. You can see details here. Let me
basically see. The layer, correct me if I'm wrong, Lorenzo, should be in WMS format.
Yes, the layer have to be done has to be provided in WMS format, and GeoServer need to have installed the WNTS multidimensional extension linked here. Then the data have to be published to provide data for the time dimension. In this case, for instance, let me show just to clarify. The layer we have seen.
It.
Yes, here as it is configured in this tab dimension. I selected the time date attribute that is available for that layer. Here there is this attribute is
basically MapStore is working on top the WMS time support. Okay, so yes. That you have first of all to enable the time dimension in your layer, raster layer or vectorial layer. In that second case, for example, providing in this case is providing the time attribute that need to be used for the for time requests. Okay, so it depends basically by the layer. In case of vector layers, it is an attribute. Okay, in case of raster layers, it depends by the raster configuration. Okay, there is some properties files when there is a property file where the time attribute can be defined to be used here in the GeoServer admin UI. So once you have defined the time dimension in GeoServer, you are basically able to use the the time slider in MapStore. Okay. Of course, and correct me obviously if I'm wrong, Lorenzo, the WMTS multi-dimension extension is mainly useful for the histogram, right?
Yes, it's this extension is used for the histogram. So for if you have seen the timeline example that I showed, here we have an histogram of points for each bucket of time, and for these functionalities, this multidimensional extension.
Anyway, in any case, the time query parameter is used in order to perform temporal requests to a WMS layer, I mean.
Yes. The next question is very similar.
Yeah, I think that we have already answered to this.
Yes, we have already answered to this.
Let me check.
To play it in MapStore, up to now, I could focus on the year field and switch. Okay, it's the.
Yeah, it is basically the same.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
It seems to me, at least.
Okay. Is it possible for basic GeoStory to use GeoStory user to select and change visible layers somehow in a GeoStory? For the normal user, no.
No. For the more normal user, no. As an editor, as a GeoStory editor, you are able to open the GeoStory in edit mode so that you can use, if you can show it, Lorenzo, please.
Yes.
You can edit. We have seen it before anyway, but you as an editor, so with add permission on the story, you can access the story in edit mode using the pencil icon here, and so that some basically controls enables in the UI, and you can basically configure your map contents. Okay, yes. So you have the possibility to access, like in this case, shown now by Lorenzo, using an inline editor for really quick. For a really quick editing of the map, okay, with just the essential functionalities, okay, to edit the map, so that you can change the opacity of a layer, you can hide or show a layer and manage its layer settings, the main one, I mean, or you can open directly right there the advanced map editor in order to perform more advanced editing of a map. Okay, but these all of these are operation allowed only to a GeoStory editor, so a user that has edit permission on a story. For normal editor in view mode, there is no possibility at the moment to change the configuration of a map. Okay, yes, so for example, yeah, for example, opening a table of content and changing the order of layers, opacity, visibility, sorry, and so on.
Okay, next question. Hi, do you plan to update open layers to 6.0 in a future update? Also supported, yes.
Yeah, next year we will update probably in the first quarter of the next year. We will update the open layer dependency in MapStore. There is something still experimental for vector tiles that we have used for certain clients or pilots that in MapStore, and so there are plan, yeah, to basically release a complete support of vector style, of vector tiles, like, and including also styling in next releases. Yes. For the moment, I can only confirm the update of OpenLayer 6 to open layers, basically in the first quarter of next year.
Okay, next question seems to be solved by itself. Thank you. And next question? What's the recommended way to migrate a product-based MapStore customization for the new version? In documentation, mapstore.readdocs.io, we have a special page dedicated to this called Migration Guidelines. Sorry, here you can find all the guidelines to migrate from everywhere, from your version to the target version. So you have, for instance, there are some general indications here on the top that are valid for all the migrations. And then step by step, you can incrementally apply these changes to migrate from your version to the target version you are going to update. So
anyway,
it's very detailed, so you can modify. It tells you which files to modify for each version and which files has been updated, and you can also have a look at the main breaking changes you may found. So
yeah. Anyway, we are not suggesting to, especially in cases where there are a lot of customization, to use directly the MapStore product, but use instead the downstream project, the MapStore project system, to create downstream project, okay, where you can easily isolate your customization in your custom web app that is using MapStore as a dependency. And that way you have, at least in the current version, there will be some interesting updates and next releases, as previously mentioned by Lorenzo. But in the current in the current situation, you have MapStore as a Git model, okay, in the downstream project, so that you can basically switch from a MapStore version to another one inside your own web application by updating basically the revision of the Git model, and also following the migration guideline as mentioned by Lorenzo now, because here we are usually reporting also migration steps from one version to another, involving also MapStore downstream project, obviously. Okay, but the main purpose of a downstream project is to better manage and isolate your customization, okay, in your own custom application, I mean, okay.
Okay, yes, I misunderstood a little. Thank you for correcting me, Tobia. So next question. My question is concerning the optimization of GeoLocate tool. Will the planet rotation orientation of the map also include the usage of angle parameter in GeoServer? Usually the GeoLocate tool and in general, if we think about the of changing and rotating the map, we supposed to do it on the client side. We have to see, we still have to see if it somehow influences the MapStore, and this probably this vendor parameter could be used as an optimization, but because it's a vendor parameter, we prefer to not use them until we are forced to do that. So we supposed to do it to do the rotation, although on the client side. We will see during the development what's the best approach in order to provide both the visualization of the wall viewport and the rotation together. It should be provided anyway by OpenLayers somehow, so it should be done. It should be feasible on the client side only. Is there a way, next question, is a way to custom authentication or authorization system directly with MapStore to use your custom authentication or authorization system?
I would say it depends.
It depends.
Generally speaking, yeah, you can customize MapStore for that kind of purposes. So anyway, it obviously depends. For the moment, for example, we are supporting the integration with LDAP, for example, at the moment, and we are working on implementing basically a base support for OpenID and things like that. But in general, it depends. Generally speaking, yes. So you can basically customize. You can obviously decide to customize both the front end and the back end for this kind of purposes, because MapStore is quite modular and flexible to do that kind of things.
Yes, we did a couple of things. We handled a couple of products where the authorization notification is custom. For instance, GeoOrchestra has its own authentication and authorization system, and MapStore is integrated with it. Anyway, you of course you will have to develop to do that. Develop a little, not so much, but it depends, as Tobia said. Next question.
Yeah, for example, in GeoOrchestra, just one a bit addition. For example, in GeoOrchestra, there is a GeoOrchestra, at least the work that we have done so far with GeoOrchestra is the integration is based on LDAP, okay, with a security proxy, okay. So basically the authentication is done through an authentication header, basically not directly through the out key, for example, but something similar anyway.
Okay, next question. This has been answered as on storage server on our on your website. Okay, thank you. No problem. Don't apologize for every question is important for us and for you. So don't apologize for questions. Does the styler use the workspaces in the server? I don't know exactly what this means. Works the styler. Okay, maybe I understood. The styles usually in the server can be available for a particular workspace or not. The styler interacts with the MapStore and creates new styles for that particular layer in particular. So it doesn't use its workspaces, but it creates a style with a long name, with an hashed name that can be used and identified. So it doesn't use the workspaces and doesn't change the style of in a particular workspaces, but simply create a new style for each layer in MapStore. You are not allowed, for instance, to browse styles of GeoServer in this current version of the styler.
Anyway,
associate more style or existing style to a layer, but you can, but only to edit a new one.
I would like to. I'm sorry if I interrupt, Lorenzo. I would like to encourage you to send an email in the MapStore developer list or user mailing list as you want, in order to maybe deepen the discussion on this, because it also depends on how you add your layer in MapStore. So you have many possibilities. So you can you basically use the catalog tool of MapStore by adding a GeoServer source, WMS source, using a workspace in the URL. okay, because GeoServer allow this. So in that case, the stylers works accordingly. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. You mean
So,
yes? It was not clear to me. If,
so there are also a few interesting updates we made basically recently about supporting workspaces in the style editor, basically. So if you have anyway something specific to ask or to discuss, you can send an email to the MapStore user mailing list so that we can try to help you in more in detail if needed.
Okay. Yes. Good. Thank you. Great. Thanks a lot thank you a lot for your answer. Thank you too for asking. Anyway, to display real-time data in MapStore, there was in the past there was an extension to auto-update layers every 30 seconds. I don't remember, Tobia, if
there is an open, there is an opened issue in GitHub for MapStore about this. Basically, there is not a direct implementation in the product at the moment.
Yes, there was some custom solutions for we did them for some customers, but we didn't provide it yet on a final solution on the main product. Next question: how about the integration with Python frameworks? MapStore is integrated in GeoNode that is based on Django. So if you're interested, there are some modules dedicated. There is a module for Django, MapStore, and other modules that provides the integration with Django and in particular with GeoNode. So in this case, if you are curious, MapStore is used only as a front-end application. The backend in Java is completely removed, and it is only a JavaScript library that is used inside the pages of Django. Next question. Cargo Maven3 plugin is deployable section for the specific project inside pom.xml template standard project omitted on purpose. There is only section on MapStore. It's relatively new. It's present only on master. Actually, we updated in order to provide compatibility with Tomcat 8 and so on. And for this reason, the old Maven plugin delegated to run locally the backend that was working in Tomcat 7. It was unuseful. There was not the Tomcat 8 plugin usable, and so we used it. The section has been omitted because it was in development. I created a couple of projects in the meanwhile, and I added them manually, and so it's a good suggestion. Maybe you can write on the developer mailing list for this and to remember us to add this section that is useful for the template. Okay, just a small update. In the next version of the project, we will not use the templates too much anymore, but instead we will use instead standard file that can be overwritten in the next project system that is going to be released next year. So the templates becomes a little obsolete because you will have instead infrastructure ready to be edited and optionally customized. Next question. Can we add a new projection to the map viewer, such as polar stereographic projection? I didn't try the polar stereographic projection, but I think that if correct me if I'm wrong, there are some projects that use it. Anyway, there is the dedicated section on the documentation.
Yeah, there is a plugin in MapStore that is the CRS selector. So there you can basically configure the CRS that you want to provide for your map. Okay.
In the configuration, application configuration section, you can see how to add the projection definitions and then configure the CRS selector plugin in order to provide the possibility to switch between the CRS.
And
they
obviously
will be added to this list, and you will be able to switch, for instance, in this case, between these two projections. In other platform like GeoOrchestra, for instance, the projections are France one, and in other customer specific. In every, I mean, in every customer specific project, we may have different projections for their local.
Yeah, especially for certain projects with certain needs. We use different kind of projection. Anyway, feel free to try using this MapStore plugin, okay? And obviously, of course, if you need, you can obviously use the MapStore mailing list if you need to discuss in detail it or ask for more detail.
Okay, next question. Single sign-on. Are there plans to interact with other authentication protocols mechanism other than the current LDAP, direct harvest approach? Thanks in advance. We answered partially on that. There are plans to integrate with OpenID. And
there is, I'm sorry if I interrupt, just to detail a little bit what I said before. There will be available in MapStore a basic support, obviously, of course, to be extended and configured for various for specific use cases. I mean, the organization for which we are doing this work has obviously is specific rules for this. So that's the point. Basically, it depends also on how that kind of protocols are implemented and configured. But anyway, yes. For the moment, we are concentrating our effort on this, and we have also implemented other kind of SSO integration for some of our clients. But anyway, there are specific implementation at the moment and not available in the core product.
Okay.
Anyway, it is possible in MapStore in general, as I said before. It depends anyway.
Okay, thank you. There are no more questions, so I hope you enjoyed the webinar and the answers. Luis, we should have finished more or less, so we can do the final greetings, and we can leave.
Yeah, thank you very much, all those who attended. But before we finish, I have a let me see if I have here. I want to do a poll, so I'm going to do a short poll. So I appreciate those of you that are still here to take just 1 minute, but I don't see it. So let me see. Because maybe you are the host now, Lorenzo.
Okay.
So maybe you can give me host and
sure
privileges.
I'm trying to understand how to do it. Just a second.
I think you click on my name, right click, more host.
Make host. Okay, fine. Thank you. Yes.
Awesome, thank you. So I'm going to launch the survey. So there are 4 questions, and I really appreciate, we really appreciate your feedback. I think it was a good discussion, and part of this environment that we want to create is for people to come together even after we explain and we share, the latest development. This is one of the most important parts, is be able to talk, to express the questions that we have, and then the experts to help you. So this is great. When I was a developer, I wished I had these kind of meetings.
The same for me.
Yeah.
Great. I see a lot of you are responding. Really, really, really appreciate it.
Thank you very
This kind
much.
of feedback is really good. And that's one of the ways that we improve, right? We get feedback, then we know what you are more interested in, and if we did awesome or very awesome. I don't have any other categories.
Awesome.
But yes. So for everybody, so I think we're not going to have another webinar. This was the last. Have also come to the previous webinars. Some of you are, some of you are customers. So thank you for your support and trying MapStore, and we are here just listening to what's needed for us to improve and make the best tools to provide open source solutions to the world. So it's good. Thank you for all your support. And remember, always we have the issue trackers where you can go and be more specific if you want a particular issue or feature, or if something is not working. You're always invited. And also part of some of the, I think was the first question, which I'm going to follow up with whoever made the question. And yes, you can make these commercial because the MapStore license.
We are losing Luis. Okay, I think he found a tunnel or something. So, can you hear me? No, I think that this is my problem.
And there is some
Okay.
connection issues. I
Yes,
think that
he is in a car. Okay. I think you're getting back, but
Tobia?
yeah. We lost you for 30 seconds or so.
Yes, stop sharing your
Okay, so
camera.
I think we're good to close. So we already got, yeah. So I think we got good responses. So I appreciate everybody. Happy holidays, and see you at the next webinar.
Yeah.
Okay. Bye,
Thank you so much.
Ciao, everybody.
Bye,
Ciao. Bye bye. Have a nice day.
Thank you, Lorenzo. Thank you, Tobia.
For the night.
Thank you too. Bye.
Bye.